So here's the scale. This is how it weighed last time. Let's see. We are 232 pounds. What's up, guys? It is Sam here, and today is day number 7 on my cut, and I wanted to talk about that. As you just saw, I am 1 pound heavier than when I started, so I wanted to talk about that and give some updated information here. Okay, so first of all, somebody might say something about my sneakers when I'm on the scale. Okay, get it, I understand. The thing about using a scale as a measurement tool or some gauge to measure some type of progress towards an objective is that there needs to be some factors that are consistent over time. And that would be the time of day, what you're wearing and that kind of thing. Like what you're wearing and what your shoes are on and all that stuff. Because if you flip-flop a lot, and the scale too. So that scale I had just beforehand, I had calibrated it. I put a 10-pound weight on there to make sure that it was actually 10 pounds, and went through and calibrated it. When I weigh myself the same. Like, so I wear, you know what I mean, a cutoff, shorts and sneakers. That's what I wear. So, and I almost always have a hat on and headphones, and 99.9% of the time I carry the phone with me. So those are the things that are always with me, period, every time I weigh myself. So that there's consistency across it versus weighing myself with like naked versus weighing myself with the stuff or holding my phone some of the time or not holding my phone the other times. Like, it's just fucking the same every single time so that you have consistency to use that gauge as a measurement tool towards whatever objective you're trying to achieve. Now, with that being said, I went up 1 pound. Literally an hour or two ago, I was messaging my girlfriend and letting her know that I hadn't weighed myself or anything. I'm literally outside of the gym right now, and let her know that I felt leaner, but I also felt like I put on muscle. I feel like this may have to be broken down into multiple videos. However, this past week, I guess let's just start with the diet. The diet this past week was good. I cut back on the carbohydrates. I cut back on the meals slightly in the evening. And then yesterday I did have a cheat. So honestly, actually, I think that's where some of that weight came from. However, throughout this entire week, and that basically wraps it up for the diet, still somewhere about 2.25 at a minimum to generally like 3.5, somewhere in that range for pounds of protein per day, shooting for around 300 grams. You can light up the comments down below if you don't agree with that. Well, then you don't fucking eat 300 grams. Let me eat 300 grams. I'm not telling you what to do, bro. By the way, press that thumbs up button for that rant. So those are some of the comments that I get, and like, who cares? Like, who cares? Just do you. Like, do what works for fucking you. Who gives a shit how somebody else lives their life? It's like you feel bad for them. You know what I mean? Because they're just like keyboard warriors, and they're sitting there, and you like picture them in your mind, just like there's so much like hate or misery or brokenness in that moment where that comes out, and you're just like, fuck, you just feel bad for them, you know, in life. Anyways, on to the next topic. We'll get into the training and activity level. Not much has changed there. From the previous video, the cardio has increased, and mentally, sometimes I'll notice that I'll do a certain amount of volume, and then I'll think like, oh, I'm gonna be leaving the gym next, and then I'll stop myself and go back and do another exercise or two, trying to put myself in that mind state, or putting myself in the state of mind that I had when I would when I felt like I was getting the most amount of progress in a rapid, in a short period of time when I was a teenager, or probably in my early 20s actually. And so that has been a focus over the last few days. Now, lastly, with the compounds and drugs, SARMs and all this fucking shit, right? First of all, this is just for entertainment purposes. Like, don't do stupid ass shit. Like, just don't do it. Just because you see some idiot online doing it doesn't mean you should do that. This is just for entertainment purposes, under my doctor's supervision. So, okay. DNP and any SARMs that I talk about is just for research purposes. So, any of the DNP, we'll start there. The DNP stopped about 2 days ago. And that was at 100 milligrams per day. Since then, I stopped that. I added in, actually, I think I have it back here in the bag, YK11 and S4. I added in YK11. By the way, I'll put a link for this company in the description. It's not an affiliate link. I don't have a code or anything, but that's where this stuff came from, and so far I'm definitely digging it. Okay, so I added this in after I dropped the DNP. One capsule, right? One capsule, I think is 5 milligrams. Pre-workout. Generally speaking, I would love to try to get it 45 minutes before a workout, but 97%. Well, it's only been 2 days, Sam. But most of the time when I say things like I'll try to get it 45 minutes before, well, actually no, it's just this. Well, what I'm going to be working towards is taking this about 40 minutes before a workout. So that way it can get into my system. I've also been working towards using the S4 instead of taking it in the evening, taking it as a pre-workout. So currently, my pre-workout is some weed and this cheap pre-workout that I got at Walmart for $15 for a 30 day supply, but I'm taking about 1.5 scoops to 2 scoops of that with some weed, and I just have these very intense focused workouts. Definitely liking those. So now back to the compounds. The MK677, ooh, this is an update. MK677, as of yesterday, day number 6, I dropped the MK677 dose to 20 milligrams per day. And the Ostarine is still at 30 milligrams per day, first thing in the morning. By the way, I also added in Cardarine. Do you see why I say don't do stupid shit you see stupid people doing online? Like, I'm not saying anybody should do anything that I'm doing at all. I'm not saying it's safe to do anything that I'm doing. I'm not saying that any of this stuff anybody ever should try again at all, ever. I'm just telling you about my experience of going through it, trying, like, researching things to see the results and see my experience. And especially I would say about midway through the past 7 days, so maybe day 3 or 4 in that time period, I felt fuller. Like, my muscle bellies felt full. I was like laying in bed and I felt like I almost had a pump. But I think I had trained legs, and I was laying in bed, and I felt like my back and my shoulders and my arms all had a pump to them. So that was very interesting. And then I thought I noticed a deepening of the lines in my stomach from your abs relative to your obliques. That dip right there, which is like, I don't know, some type of tissue, cartilage, I don't know what it is. You can let me know down below in the comments, the white tissue there. I've been noticing slight deepening of that line as well. And then tonight I actually noticed that in my chest, I had the striations in the inner chest were starting to deepen a little bit. So that's super cool. But at the same time, I was like, damn, I feel full as fuck. Like, I just had a shitload of carbs, and like I hadn't had the carbs. So I was like, this is crazy. The amount of pump, the amount of that like post-workout pump was like kind of with me throughout most of the day. It was kind of like you're jacked up. Oh, but also the overall sense of well-being, like, yeah, that's on point. You just feel good. So from the overall sense of well-being, the synergy of all these different compounds and things that is going on is fucking on point, and it is far and away better in terms of the intensity of this sense of like if you have your sense of well-being and that's just your normal range, like jump that up maybe, I don't know, I guess if I'm just comparing this to like maybe a month ago, like a decent amount, like I would say, I want to say 20 to like 50%, it depends on the certain moment, but overall the whole baseline is up 20%. So yeah, definitely digging that. Now in terms of the work in the gym, have weights increased? I don't really measure the success of my workouts through the amount of weight I use, so it's hard for me to really give a honest answer about if the weights are increasing, because that's not really the way I lift, so it's hard for me to say on that. By the way, if you guys are still watching this point, that's about it actually. That's basically my update. I'm up, so I'm up 1 pound. Now what am I going to do going forward from this moment? This is Friday night, the 7th, right? So going forward, I will be doing additional cardio, ramping up the cardio even more than I did from the first 3 days to the last 2 days. So the cardio intensity and probably the length of cardio I will be doing per day is going to be increasing. By what percentage? I think if I'm going from about an hour on average to maybe an hour and a half on average per day, it's the low intensity steady state is also going to be increasing. In terms of the compounds, I think I'm going to leave the compounds the way they are at this moment. Tomorrow, I think I'm going to add in a dose of clomiphene, just for in case, because I feel like that's a very effective way of also helping increase your overall sense of well-being, and I didn't want a lot more suppression. So that's what I'm going to add in on tomorrow, probably 30 milligrams of that. Anyways, I've also been using Tadalafil intermittently throughout this period. So if you guys like this video, make sure you press the subscribe button. If you want to follow along this stupid shit I'm doing, press that bell notification. YouTube will tell you next time I post a video. Or if you know somebody else who's cutting or who just likes this kind of stuff, share this video with them. Like, fucking text them. Press share, copy the link, and text it to them. I would appreciate it, and so would they, hopefully. If they don't, then you can just let me know down below in the comments that your friend did not enjoy the video, and I will respond to your comments. Peace.